Rock climbing is an incredibly broad term that encompasses many different styles and approaches to ascending rock faces. At its core, the goal of rock climbing is to get from the bottom to the top of a rock face. That being said, there's almost infinite ways to accomplish this goal. In this video, I'm going to break down some of the more popular terms and disciplines within the sport of climbing. Bouldering involves climbing small rock faces and boulders that are close to the ground, such that no ropes or other gear is necessary. If you fall, you simply land on the ground or sometimes a small pad. Most boulders are around 8 to 15 feet and can be just a couple moves long or involve long traverses a short distance off the ground. Bouldering is one of the main disciplines you'll find in most climbing gyms. Top rope climbing involves ascending a large face while tied into a rope that passes through anchors at the top of a route and back down to a belayer, who uses a belay device to lock the rope in place if you fall. This is the type of climbing most people first start out doing and can also be found in many climbing gyms. When you climb outside, ropes aren't just magically at the top of every route. This is where lead climbing comes in. In lead climbing, the climber is tied into the end of the rope with a belayer holding the rope through a belay device and playing out slack as the climber moves up. The climber periodically clips the rope into protection as they move up the wall so that, if they fall, they will be caught by the last piece of protection. There are two main types of lead climbing that you'll find at most crags. First up is sport climbing. Sport climbing is a type of lead climbing in which the rope is clipped to pre-existing eye bolts that are drilled directly into the rock face. In this case, you clip the rope into the eye bolt using a quick draw, which you then remove from the bolt on your way back down. Trad climbing, or traditional climbing, is a form of lead climbing in which the climber places their own protection into the rock as they move up. Unlike sport climbing, there are no pre-drilled bolts, so the climber must use tools like cams and nuts, which can be placed in cracks along the way. The rope is then clipped into these protection devices, which, if placed properly, will hold a fall. Up until this point, all the types of climbing we've discussed can be classified as free climbing. All that free climbing means is that the climber ascends the wall using only their hands and feet to make upward progress. They may use a rope, but the rope is only there to catch the climber in case of a fall. This is in contrast to aid climbing, in which a climber places protection in the rock, which is then used to make upward progress. For example, the climber may place a cam into a crack and then clip a small nylon ladder, called an aid ladder or étrier, to the cam and climb up the ladder to reach up and place another piece. Aid climbing is typically used to climb through sections that are too difficult or too dangerous to free climb. Multipitch climbing is just a term used when ascending faces that are longer than one length of rope. For example, it would be impractical to climb an 800-foot rock face using an 800-foot length of rope. For this reason, a lead climber will ascend up the face about one rope length, build an anchor, and then belay their partner up. The first climber will then lead up the next pitch, and the process repeats like an inchworm until they've reached the top. Solo climbing just refers to any type of climbing that is done without a partner to belay you. The term solo can be applied to any of the previous terms we've discussed. For example, free solo climbing would be free climbing but without a belayer or any ropes to catch you if you fall. This practice is pretty uncommon and extremely dangerous. So that's an overview of some of the most common terms and types of climbing you'll hear. There's much more to it than that, but hopefully that gives you a good understanding of the basic terminology. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, happy climbing, and as always, stay adventurous.